This court is back in session. You may be seated.
All right, Mr. Jackson, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sergeant, you had an opportunity, obviously, you read them, so now you've familiarized.
Oh, Mr. Jackson, whenever you're ready.
Hey, Yuri's still smirking about reading those text messages.
You had an opportunity, obviously, you read them, so now you've familiarized yourself with that series of text messages that you received from Brian Higgins, correct?
Yes.
Would you, I'm going to ask you the same question again. Would you consider those text messages as you reviewed them when you received them from Brian Higgins as being flirtatious or romantic in nature?
No, they were just friends.
I would not categorize them to that extent. Certain parts of it might be, but the total conversation, if you want my opinion, I can provide you with it.
Was there some flirtation in the text messages that you noted?
There are terms that I used. You're hot, witty, stuff like that. You know, talking about banging and hooking up.
The single life is so
What word would you
strange.
use to describe them if not flirtatious?
I don't miss it.
The totality of the conversation?
Sure. Let's start there.
My opinion is that it's a angry girlfriend trying to set up a hookup to her John.
To her jump?
To her John.
To her John.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree 1,000%. 1,000%. Shout out to Yuri. He's right on this one.
Would you consider the responses from Brian Higgins to be flirtatious in nature?
Yes.
There are conversation parts that are enticing, maybe a little of advances, but the totality of, to put a label on the whole thing, my opinion is that she's trying to get revenge.
Get revenge
Yes, get revenge.
on John
Yeah.
for what happened on New Year's Eve.
Yes.
Okay. When you say revenge, you don't mean physical revenge.
Well, emotional revenge. She's trying to hook up with Higgins and then hurt John by cheating on him.
And in fact, you did note that John O'Keefe was not privy to these text messages, right? Objection.
I'll allow that. Do you know that?
I do not, Your Honor, no.
He's not on these texts, is he?
I don't like the question.
I don't know if their accounts are synced at this point. I don't know if he's seen them. I don't know.
He's not. His phone. You know what his phone number is. You guys got his phone, right?
We do have his device, yes.
Do you have any evidence that his account was somehow, I don't even know if that means synced with what Karen Reed's account?
Not from his device, no, but he could have seen the text message.
Okay, so there's no evidence that he was synced. His account was synced with anything, correct?
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
There's no evidence.
You were facing the other way. I didn't hear.
There's no evidence that his account was synced with anything.
Not his device that we have, no.
And you don't have, as you sit here, you don't have any evidence whatsoever that he saw any of these text messages, correct?
We don't have that, but I do not know.
Okay. So as you sit here, my question is very simple. Do you have evidence, affirmative evidence, that John O'Keefe ever saw these text messages?
I do not have evidence that he saw them,
Okay.
no.
So would you agree that the text messages show a romantic interest, for whatever motivation, a romantic interest from Brian Higgins toward Ms. Reed?
You have to ask that differently.
In your mind, as you read the text messages, did you determine in your head that there was a romantic interest by Brian Higgins toward Karen Reed?
In my mind, I saw the text messages for what they were, initiated by Karen Reed, and began a text message conversation with Brian Higgins.
And Brian Higgins was responsive to those text messages, correct?
They did communicate back and forth.
He was responsive to the overtures that Ms. Reed made toward him, correct?
Overtures.
suggestions. Let's get together for a drink, come over to my house, I'll come over to your house, things of that nature. Those went back and forth between the two, correct?
Yes, they went back and forth. Yes.
And did you determine that there was an interest by Brian Higgins in Karen Reed?
It's clear
I
to see.
read that he repeatedly asked her what's her plan, what's her goal, what's her interest, what's her intent.
Did that show you an interest on his part in her?
I think at one point he said he was confused, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, or what's the term he used? He was unsure what she wanted.
He called her hot.
He did, yes.
He called her witty.
Right from the rip, yes.
He said he wanted to spend time with her.
Spend time, yes, yeah.
He was interested in going over to her house.
Yes,
He was interested in her possibly coming over to his house.
yes,
Which she
He
did.
told her that he thought she was hot, his words, from the jump, correct?
from the jump, yep.
How did you interpret that?
From the jump, I would interpret it as right from the beginning, maybe the first time they saw each other, laid eyes on each other. I mean,
As a matter of fact,
Again,
he
not a
basically
crime.
said that, didn't he? In the text message, from the first time I saw you, I thought you were hot.
yes.
He constantly was using phrases, to use your words, phrases interested in knowing how she felt about him, correct?
Objection. Sustained. To ask it differently, Mr. Johnson.
Did you interpret
There you go.
any of his text messages as Brian Higgins being interested in knowing how she felt, what she was thinking about him?
Objection.
Ask it again.
Come on, AJ.
When you first saw these text messages and you reviewed them, did you interpret those text messages in your mind? That's what I'm interested in your mind, as Brian Higgins being interested in knowing how Karen Reed felt about him.
He got it in there.
I believe his statement indicates that he was interested in seeing what her interest was, what her intention were, and questioning the fact that she's dating live-in boyfriend with his buddy.
He used the word ghost several times, correct?
I do recall reading the word ghost.
How did you interpret that word?
Objection.
Overruled.
I'll allow it.
I interpreted ghost in the common slang terminology as to abandon conversation, stop communicating.
Yes.
He indicated
Correct.
that 2 different times in the text string, correct?
I know I read the text messages, by reading them out loud to a room full of people, I might not have remember how many times the term ghost came through.
Fair
I was
enough.
concentrating more on the reading, not of the comprehension of each word.
Fair enough. But you did note that he used that term in his text messages to her, correct?
I think I recall at least once that the term ghost was present in the communication.
Did you interpret that? I'm looking for what was in your mind. Did you interpret that, the use of that word by Brian Higgins, as showing some level of frustration at her abandonment of the conversation?
No, I did not. No.
Not at all?
No.
Have you ever heard the phrase, "you ghosted me"?
Yes.
How do you interpret that phrase, just in general?
I've heard it communicated between other people. I've never used the term ghosted. I think it's a little after my time in communicating with others, but I take it as you stopped responding to my text messages.
Do you take that, do you interpret that, or did you interpret that as a positive or a negative comment? You ghosted me.
I interpret it as a matter of fact, like you stopped talking to me. I never thought about it in a positive or negative connotation. I never gave it any thought.
As you sit here now, if you do give it thought, would you put a positive or a negative connotation on the phrase, you ghosted me?
Objection.
Sustained.
You're aware that, based on the
Yeah,
text messages
moving on.
that we just saw,
It's not
there was
worth
a
it.
series of text messages that went back and forth starting in mid-January and basically ending around January 23rd, correct?
This chain of text messages began in January 12th and ended January 29th.
Right. I'm going to get to the 29th. But the back and forth ended on January 23rd, did it not?
I don't recall as specifically. I can leaf through it and tell you what it is. I know I read the dates out loud, and again, I was concentrating on reading.
Do you have the document in front of you?
I do.
Could you turn to the last page?
Yes, sir.
I believe it's the last page. It may be the second to the last page or something. Do you see an entry on January 23rd, 2022, a text message from Brian Higgins, thought you were all set?
Yes.
And Ms. Reed responded with talking? Question mark. No. Period. Correct?
That is her response.
Mr. Higgins then responds, with 4 M's behind the H. Correct?
That's correct.
And then he responds again. By the way, did Ms. Reed respond to the
No, she did not.
And then he follows up with, you sure, with no punctuation. Correct?
That's correct.
Did Ms. Reed respond to you're sure?
She did not.
The next text is on January 29th at 11:32 p.m., correct? I'm sorry, January 28th at 11:32 p.m. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Is that from Ms. Reed or from Mr. Higgins?
At 11:32 p.m. on Friday, January 28th, it is from Mr. Higgins.
That's all I ask. And now,
Okay.
can you tell the jurors what that text is? And then the next text immediately after it.
Well,
So between January 23rd and January 28th, would you describe Ms. Reed's side of the conversation as having ghosted Mr. Higgins?
no, she initiates the conversation. You had me read the second text message in the chain.
Between January 29th, January 23rd.
I don't know about this line of questioning, but I'll let it play out.
By Brian Higgins. Until January 28th at 11:32. Would you describe that as Ms. Reed having ghosted Mr. Higgins for those 5 days?
Strictly looking at the text message communications and not knowing whether they...
Correct. I'm not asking you to speculate. I know there's other stuff you want to say. I'm asking you just to read just to answer the question I've asked. Based on the text that in front of you, starts with Bukhenik, does it appear that Ms. Reed ghosted, as you define the term, Mr. Higgins, from January 23rd until January 28th?
One could read into that in that manner, yeah.
And then on January 28th, so to Bukhenik,
Good
when
job.
Brian Higgins sends, well, and Ms. Reed responds.
No, she did not. They were together at the same location.
Did she respond to the text?
On that day?
Correct.
Not on a text message, no.
You said they were together. That means that Brian Higgins was together in the same room with Ms. Reed when he sent his text. Correct?
Yes.
And she ignored it, didn't she? Okay.
Existing.
You also received from Mr. Higgins certain text messages between him, Mr. Higgins, and John O'Keefe himself, correct?
Yes, we did.
And one of those text messages, one of the last text messages that they exchanged was, as a matter of fact, the last text message that was exchanged was Brian Higgins at 12:20 a.m. on January 29th, 2022, texting Mr. O'Keefe, "You coming here?" with 3 question marks, correct?
I would have to take a look at the document. I don't have a memory of it specifically. I know I reviewed it, but I don't have a memory of the time and content.
Of course not.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
This might be our last witness for today. I'm
you,
not
sir.
going to lie.
No, no
Because he's not cooperating at all.
Based on this extraction, I cannot definitively say that this text message was sent on January 29th because of the file source time and and the JPEG being so small. I can't testify to that, sir.
May I approach?
Yes.
Your Honor, Mr. Brennan has kindly offered to stipulate that the "you coming here" text was sent. I would offer the following stipulation: that "you coming here" text was sent on January 29th at 12:20 a.m. from Brian Higgins to John O'Keefe's phone. Quote, "You coming here," 3 question marks following it.
What was the time?
I'm good. 12:20 a.m. May we enter that stipulation with the court's permission?
Sure. So, jurors, you've heard that the lawyers agree that that fact is true.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant. So you were aware of the timeline on or about January 29th when, first of all, Karen Reed had not responded to a text message from January 23rd throughout January 28th and into January 29th. Sorry, throughout January 28th by 11:32 p.m. or so. She just not responded.
He didn't
Right.
quit it.
So the text message that she sent to Brian Higgins, the last time she sent a text message was on the 23rd.
And he responded with several text messages to which she did not respond on January 23rd, correct?
I believe she sent 2 and he said 3, I believe.
So the answer is yes. There was a text message that she sent, that he sent to which she did not respond. Is that right? On the 23rd.
He was the last one to send a text message on the 23rd.
That was following multiple text messages back and forth between the two of them, spanning a couple of weeks, correct?
Yes.
Then, on January 28th, 2022, Brian Higgins is at the Waterfall Bar and Grill after 11:30 p.m., correct?
He was.
Karen Reed then walks into that same Waterfall Bar and Grill, accompanied by her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, correct?
They did.
Dang.
Brian Higgins then texted
I wonder if John knew.
Karen Reed, who's standing in the room. Well, correct?
Correct.
Karen Reed ignored that text, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Karen Reed did not respond to that text.
There's no text.
Brian
Interesting.
Higgins then, a little less than an hour later, texts John directly, "You coming here?" with 3 question marks, correct?
Correct. It's been stipulated.
That is an accurate timeline of the events that we've just talked about, correct?
Yes, sir.
Interesting.
You're also aware of a call, your investigation revealed a call between Brian Higgins and Brian Albert at 2:22 a.m. on the 29th, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did your investigation reveal a call between between Brian Higgins and Brian Albert at 2:22 a.m.?
There you go.
Objection.
Sustained.
May we
What?
approach Your Honor?
Okay.
How? How's that sustained? Did his investigation reveal that or not? We got another sidebar. I think that's number 5. So, team 0 through 6, y'all might have it today. Is that 4 or 5? Or 4? I gotta say it right. I gotta use the accent. Is it 4? Or is it 5? How many sidebars today?
Didn't make on
No.
January 29th or January 20th.
Let me rewind this back. I think that's 5. It is 5. Karen was just waiting for a chance to yell, "That's why I smashed Brian." Nasty word. Jeez. She was waiting for it. I know the type. Tell me I'm wrong, y'all, and I'll take it back.
Sergeant Bukhenik, did you become aware during the course of your investigation, then I'll narrow the time frame, during the course of your investigation, that there were calls between Brian Higgins and Brian Albert at approximately 2:22 a.m. on the 29th?
During the course of my investigation, I was not aware of that. If you have a document that I can see, I can tell you if I've ever seen it before.
Did you seek to secure Brian Albert's cell phone to determine what calls he did and didn't make on
No.
January 29th or January 28th?
No, we did not.
Okay. In your experience, would a phone extraction, a cell phone extraction of Brian Albert's phone, have revealed calls made and received in the time frame that we're talking about, the 28th and the 29th of January 2022?
If a phone is extracted, the records of phone calls being made and received would show those records.
You did receive information from Brian Higgins' phone, specifically the texts that he claimed he pulled off of his phone and gave to you, correct?
We received text messages that I read today that Brian Higgins provided from his phone.
Did you seek to secure his actual phone for a forensic download or a forensic mirror image to get the actual calls made and received or text messages made and received from his phone?
No, we did not.
At some point this is just yes or no. At some point, did you become aware of a call between Brian Higgins and Brian Albert at 2:22 a.m. on the morning of the 29th? Just yes or no.
No.
As you sit here today, this is new information to you. Let me rephrase that. This is unknown information to you. You do not have any information about that?
Objection.
Sustain. We need a time frame, Mr. Jackson.
I realize that, Judge. That's why I'm asking it this way. As you sit here, are you aware of a phone call between Brian Albert and Brian Higgins at 2:22 a.m. on January 29th, 2022?
Look, you just shared that with me. I have no memory or record of seeing that it actually took place. I do not know.
Okay, so you've never heard that before. That was what I was getting to. You've never heard that before.
No.
Okay.
Of course not.
You indicated that you did not seek to secure Brian Albert's phone to do a phone extraction at any time, correct?
We did not try to get Brian Albert's phone for any reason whatsoever.
Did you become aware during the course of your investigation that Brian Albert destroyed his phone?
I'd like to be seen. Objection.
Jurors, disregard that question. Come over to sidebar, please.
Oh, it's not looking good for team 0 to 6 when it comes to sidebars. Let me know in the comments in the chat how many sidebars you think we'll have today.